slightly red or slightly blue. So this is a really important place to do that person-to-person work that really matters. About a week ago, a casino guy from Nevada gave my opponent $1.5 million to run more negative ads against me. And you wonder why somebody from Nevada would put that much down on a Virginia Senate race. But he owns a casino, so he's a betting man. And the bet that he's placing is that big checks and negative ads will win the election. That's the bet that they pretty much placed from the start of this. And I'm a betting man too, but in a different way. I don't think it's about big checks and negative ads. I think it's about person-to-person. And that's why from the very beginning of this campaign, we've really emphasized person-to-person, ground-game, field, the small donors in huge numbers rather than the massive donors. We just passed yesterday 50,000 individual donors to the campaign. They can't write $1.5 million checks, but I think that 50,000 is likely to produce more votes for me than the one guy that can write the $1.5 million check. And in a close race especially, we really see how the person-to-person matters. So we've been doing, canvassing discussions all over the state for the last month or so. And let me just tell you some canvassing stories from the road to kind of inspire you in terms of what you can do here in the last couple of days. Because in the last couple of days, we are encouraging our voters to actually vote, to get out to vote for people we know will vote with us. But we are also still trying to convince the last few undecideds. The polls will show that there's still maybe 3% undecided. That sounds like a small number, but 4 million people may vote, so there's 120,000 if I'm doing my math right, and that means that there's still undecideds that we have to persuade. And if you think about it, I bet everybody knows some undecideds. We find them as we're calling, but you probably know some people at work or people at church or people at school or people that in your neighborhood or family members who are late deciders or ticket splitters. And so we are trying to win those last converts here between now and when the polls open on Tuesday. Who are undecided voters? Well, undecided voters are people who are not making their mind up based on the party of George Allen or Tim Kaine. They've known that for months and they're still undecided. Undecided voters are most likely independents, and they want to solve problems. They want to accelerate the economy. They want to fix the budget. But especially what they really want, I believe, from my conversations with them, is they want people in office who know how to find common ground. They're tired of the gridlock and the partisanship. They're tired of people pledging to battle the president on everything. They're tired of a Senate that can pass a farm bill, but a House bottles it up in committee till after Election Day. They don't like a Congress that has become a shackle around our progress as a nation, and they want to put people in place who know how to solve problems. Another thing about the undecideds that I think it's really important for you to understand is the undecided voter at this point is not waiting to see one more negative ad. They see negative ads. They started running negative ads against me in Virginia the day after the elections last November, almost exactly 12 months ago. And they've seen every version and every variety of negative ads, and that hadn't made up their mind yet. So they're not waiting for one more negative ad. What an undecided voter is waiting for right now is a positive word from someone they trust. That's what they're waiting for. And that's where you come in. You can be that positive word from someone they trust. Obviously, if they know you directly, talking to them about the race and the choices between candidates, talking about my economic record as a tough times governor in the worst recession in 75 years, keeping Virginia best managed, best state for business, low unemployment, high median income, sharing those stories, sharing why you think it's so important to participate, sanity and balancing the budget, not just taking out the meat axe and cutting everything, but real sanity, sharing those messages. You can be that voice that someone trusts. You can do it when you talk to them in person. You can do it when you talk to them on the phone. You can do it by email, reaching out to those voters that you think might be undecided and sharing that. But the other thing is, you don't even have to know someone to be that voice that they can trust. If you're talking to somebody at the door, you're caring enough to go out and do this, and that makes an impression on people. I've heard again and again and again from voters over the course of this race a funny little story. We have a staffer, Mecca. What's Mecca's last name?
Hall.
Mecca Hall. Right. Mecca Hall, who's a staffer down in Tidewater. She was doing door-to-door, knocking on doors about 2 Sundays ago in the middle of NFL Sunday football. And don't interrupt people during Sunday football, I guess, but here's proof that you can do it if you do it the right way. She walks up to a house, 2 Romney signs in the front yard, but she didn't see an Allen sign, so she said, well, what the heck, I'm going to just go up and try to persuade this guy. She knocks on the door, the guy comes to the door, and he says, she introduces herself, I'm voting for Romney, but hey, I work for Tim Kaine, I want to talk to you about Tim Kaine. And she stood there and talked to the guy for 10 or 15 minutes about me, and it just so happened, unbeknownst to her, he was a radio host with a talk show, John Frederick, Commonwealth Conservative talk show. He went on the air 2 days later and just was bragging about it. You gotta look at this Kaine team. They got some really sharp people. And here they walk by the Romney signs in my yard and they persuade me, and she made a fantastic case. He didn't know her, but the fact that she would go up and take the time and explain and answer his questions made a huge impression on him. I'm still not 100% sure I'm getting the guy's vote. But you know, this made an impression enough that he told the story in a way that all his listeners would have been very impressed with the kind of operation he had. And we hear these stories all the time from people at the door making an impression by being willing to answer questions. You can be on the phone. We're talking to our callers at our canvassing offices all around the state. And what they say is, you know, what some of our undecided voters are telling us is that when we call, we always call live, and the other side is robodial. And they ask, okay, well, why does that matter? Why does it matter that you get a live call rather than a robodial? Well, it matters because a live caller will answer our questions. It's not just telling me something. A robodial will tell me something that's probably false. But a live caller will engage and answer a question. And if they don't know the answer to the question, they'll get the answer and call back. Again, being that person on the other end of the phone who's willing to listen, who's willing to answer a question, who's willing to call back if you don't have the answer, you can be that voice of someone they trust with a positive word even if you don't know it. At the end of the day, the person-to-person really matters. As I've said, I think the other side's bet is bigger checks and negative ads, and our bet from the very day we started this campaign, our bet has been more people and grassroots. And I really want to win this race because I think I do offer a better choice for the Commonwealth and the country than my opponent. He's every bit as sincere in his beliefs as I am in mine. But I think we've got to have a direction that is about economic acceleration and specifics on how to deal with a budget and deal with it in a sane way. And a whole series of other issues, respecting women's ability to make their own health care decisions and then have government make them for them. I think I offer a better choice for the Commonwealth and for the country. But I also want to win for this other reason that I think is hugely important. You know, there's 2 styles of campaigning that are on the table in the nation this year. And one is about grassroots and person-to-person, and one is about big checks and negative ads. And if you win with the grassroots and person-to-person, then more candidates will decide that's what they want to do, and it will encourage a lot more of it. But if the side that's about big money and negative ads wins, then there's going to be more of that. And the interpretation of it will be, well, I guess that is the way to win the election. So we're battling really for candidates and choices. We're battling for a president who deserves to be reelected. We're battling for congressional candidates, but we're also battling for person-to-person politics. The best aspects of our politics since this nation started have been person-to-person. You know, if you think about seminal moments in American politics that we think about when we think about our political tradition, you know, it's volunteerism. It's talking to people at the polls and the poll workers that are there every year when you vote. Even the big elections, you know, like a Lincoln-Douglas debate, looking people in the face for hours in a county courthouse, or a Harry Truman whistle-stop campaign stopping at every crossroads. If there's 30 people there trying to convince them, I know everybody says I'm going to lose, but I'm going to win. Or an 08 election we participated in that took grassroots outreach to a completely new level. The things that are great about our politics are person-to-person. I lived in a country for a while, Honduras, that was a military dictatorship where everybody prayed for the day that they could participate in choosing their own leaders. We've had that ability in this country, so much so that maybe sometimes we take it for granted a little bit, but it has been a person-to-person politics, even in a nation of 300+ million people. I do not want to go down the path toward the brave new world where it's not person-to-person, but it's just big checks and negative ads. I think if we go, we may have gone too far down that path, and I hope that we're going to see some results on Tuesday that say that the American public doesn't want to keep going down that path, but they want to come back and really embrace what's been so strong about our politics. And I believe that what you're doing, really, is in the best traditions. You are the guardians, you're the maintainers of a person-to-person political tradition. You're what's standing between a person-to-person political tradition and this brave new world of the big checks and the super PAC ads. And so, let that be a little bit of inspiration. That's what's getting me up earlier every morning. I'm an early riser because my dad is. My dad, who's here, had an iron working shop, and you get up early and you go to work early so you can get the work done before the heat of the day. And I'm an early riser because I got it through my genes. But I'm getting up even earlier these days because I am motivated at the end of a 19-month race, even as tired as I am. I am motivated by a desire to vindicate this person-to-person tradition and vindicate the notion that you can have as many zeros in the world to put on the end of a check, and you can run as many negative ads as you want. And as you've seen, maybe you've seen in the last week, the survey came out that said I am the second most targeted individual with negative super PAC ads in the United States. I'm number 2. I try harder, folks. But we can vindicate that person-to-person tradition if we do this thing right, and that really excites me and energizes me over the next couple of days. So with that, I just want to say thanks. I encourage you to get out and spread the word, and get on the phones and talk to folks at the doors. We're going to be having some amazing events today with volunteers and others, and tonight with President Obama and President Clinton, and I guess a guy named Dave Matthews. Some of you might know him. We're going to be up in Northern Virginia. We're going to be back doing a whole series of rallies tomorrow, and then we'll be in Norfolk, Loudon, Blacksburg, and then finishing up strong in Richmond. And where are we going to be at Richmond, Brandy? We're going to be at the Tredegar Iron Works. And what is the door time now for the Richmond event?
I think it's 7.
Okay, so it's about 7 o'clock. So we'll finish strong, and then do a really hard, long day's work on Tuesday. This thing will be if it's meant to be, but I have a real good feeling, and I have a good feeling because of you. Thanks so much. Let's go.